Well, after the Jeremy Pruitt disaster and Philip Fulmer finally stepping down as athletic director, the Tennessee football program seems to finally be headed in the right direction, as they hired both UCF athletic director Danny White and UCF head coach Josh Heupel. UCF football has been consistently good for the past few seasons, and Heupel knew how to put up points wherever he was. He's been great at developing quarterbacks, he's won a lot of games at UCF, and I think this is a very intriguing hire for the Tennessee Volunteers. Today we're going to talk about the rise of Josh Heupel, what this hire means for Tennessee football, and what he will bring to the table, and some of the potential risk for him in Rocky Top. But first, be sure to give the video a like, subscribe if you love college football and want to stay up to date with everything that's going on, and suggest another topic and turn on post notifications so you never miss when I upload. Now let's get started and talk about the rise of Josh Heupel. So in case you don't know anything about Josh Heupel, he was actually a big-time college football player who began his career at Weber State, then went the junior college route, and then went to Oklahoma, where he became an All-American, was the runner-up for the Heisman Trophy, and led the Oklahoma Sooners all the way to the national title, where he actually won. He is seen as one of the best quarterbacks in Sooner history, but after not being able to make it in the NFL, he went straight into coaching, where he pretty quickly rose through the ranks. He started as a grad assistant with Mark Stoops at Oklahoma, but he then became the tight ends coach with Mike Stoops at Arizona. He later went back to Norman and became the quarterbacks coach for the Sooners and helped coach Sam Bradford to the Heisman Trophy, and he was the co-offensive coordinator for 4 years alongside current Nevada head coach Jay Norvell. He did a pretty solid job when he was there, but after a rough 2014 season, Heupel was fired by Oklahoma, and he became the offensive coordinator for Utah State. When he was there, he helped bring in Jordan Love, and after one solid year there, he went back to the Power 5 level and took a job as the Missouri Tigers offensive coordinator in the SEC. As a Mizzou fan myself, I absolutely loved what Heupel did for the Missouri offense, and he did a great job with Drew Lock in my opinion. Missouri's defense was not very good back then, and they had a lot of offensive weapons and a great quarterback in Drew Lock, and what they needed was a guy who could help the offense run, help them put up points, and help them stay competitive, and I feel like Tennessee is in that exact same spot. He helped speed up the tempo of the offense, and Mizzou put up a lot of points. While it can be risky if you go 3 and out on offense, I like this style for Tennessee, and he could finally get that offense going, which has seemingly been dead in the water the last 4 years. Heupel was also a solid recruiter in his days as an assistant, and since he did a great job at Missouri, he was one of the top assistant coaches in the nation. After Scott Frost went undefeated and took the Nebraska job, UCF athletic director Danny White saw all the talent and the potential that Heupel had, and he ended up hiring him to become the next head coach of the Golden Knights. With some talent and a star quarterback in Mackenzie Milton, the Knights actually went 12-0 in Heupel's first year, had Milton not gone down with a gruesome leg injury in the conference championship game. Nevertheless, backup quarterback Darriel Mack came in and put up a great fight and put up a great game against LSU, and Heupel did spectacular in his first year and was seen as a really hot up-and-coming coach. In 2019, he had a couple of quarterback options, but he ended up riding with true freshman Dylan Gabriel for most of the year, and the Knights' record was still great as they went 10-3 and beat Marshall in their bowl game. In 2020, the Knights did fall off a bit, but Dylan Gabriel was one of the better young quarterbacks in the country, and they had an electric offense. The defense was what would hold them back in 2020, and out of the 28 games Heupel has coached at UCF so far, 27 of them were wins or close losses. Sadly, the only time he ever got blown out was in their most recent bowl game against Zach Wilson's BYU Cougars, and sadly that is the last taste that most people have of him as a head coach. In his time in Orlando so far, he has done great, and I really like this guy to be a head coach eventually, but I didn't know it would be this quickly. If we turn it back over to Tennessee, Fulmer retired, and basically the program is trying to completely rebrand its culture and do something completely new. They went out and hired a great athletic director and brought out the Brinks truck to get Danny White there, and he is a great guy and someone who wants to win and is going to make a lot of good decisions. The NCAA may hit the Tennessee program hard to set an example, but White is up to the challenge to win, and I think that Tennessee football is going to rebound and beat this. In terms of some of the coaches that White actually had reached out to, and that included Penn State's James Franklin, Cincinnati's Luke Fickell, SMU's Sonny Dykes, Minnesota's PJ Fleck, and Clemson offensive coordinator Tony Elliott. They also have Kevin Steele on the staff, who was at one point the head coach at Baylor and an assistant coach with Auburn most recently. Apparently, Tony Elliott was on track to be the guy, but it eventually fell through, and White needed to look in a new direction, and he looked in a familiar direction. This morning, it finally surfaced that Danny White hired his old coach at UCF, and him and Josh Heupel agreed to become the next head coach of the Volunteer program, and I was really pumped up to wake up and see the news, and I had to immediately get started on today's video. So what exactly does Heupel bring to the table for Tennessee fans? Well, UCF has ranked in the top 8 nationally in scoring offense all 3 of the seasons in Orlando, and his teams have averaged at least 42.2 points per game all 3 seasons. The Knights were competitive in 27 of their 28 games, proving that he knows how to play in each game and have competitive teams. Financially, Heupel is expected to make around $4 million annually, which will leave him a nice salary pool for a big-name defensive coordinator and a staff that can help recruit with an SEC footprint because he doesn't have a ton of SEC ties. Yahoo said, quote, Heupel brings a 28-8 record in 3 seasons as a head coach, SEC experience from his time at Missouri, and a decade of coaching at Oklahoma, and that included 4 seasons as the co-offensive coordinator. Along the way, he's developed a reputation for high-scoring offenses and quarterback development, 2 things largely missing the past 2 decades at Tennessee. Tennessee has struggled massively with quarterback play over the years, and I like to blame a lot of that on Jarrett Garantano, but with big-time quarterbacks on the roster that include Hendon Hooker, Harrison Bailey, and Caden Salter, Heupel should be able to have one of them do well, and he has a great track record with quarterbacks, so I'm excited to see what he can do. Heupel saw a gem in the rough and recruited Jordan Love to Utah State, which was his only scholarship offer. He also played a key role in the development of Missouri's Drew Lock back in the day, UCF's Mackenzie Milton and Dylan Gabriel, and also coached Landry Jones and Sam Bradford during his Heisman Trophy season. This is honestly a very, very, very risky hire, but I absolutely love it. Tennessee is in a tough spot, and things will likely be tough for the next few years for the program, so why not take some sort of risk and at least have some fun? I want them to take a risk on an up-and-coming coach who would bring a spark to the team, and Josh Heupel is the perfect example of that, to be honest. When a team is struggling or a program is in a tough spot, and the players aren't winning a ton of games, all the fans want to see is a little bit of hope. They want to see a team that's trying, and most importantly, they don't want to be shut out or looked dead on offense. I think at minimum, Heupel can have his teams putting up points. The defense will definitely be something of concern, but if his teams can put up points, show some hope, he can recruit, and at least get the fan base energized again, I think this will be a great hire and at least a good stepping stone to the next coach to help bring Tennessee football back. He will really need to nail his coordinator hires for the recruiting purposes, as he doesn't have a ton of SEC ties himself, and he needs to assemble a staff that can help the team play good defense. I don't think Heupel was White's first choice, as I really thought he went after James Franklin and wanted Tony Elliott, but Danny is comfortable with Josh, and he brings an element of surprise and high reward that makes this hire very fun and intriguing. Is this hire a huge risk? Yes, of course it is, but it also could be a lot of fun and could be really good for Tennessee, and more importantly, could be a stepping stone. I like this hire, and I want to know what you guys think. If you're a Tennessee football fan, please let me know what you think of this hire, and if you're a UCF fan, I'm sorry that you lost your coach, but let me know who you think you guys will hire next and what you think of Josh Heupel, and if this is a good or a bad move for Tennessee football. I've done a ton of videos on Tennessee players and former coaches, including Butch Jones, Derek Dooley, Josh Dobbs, Alvin Kamara, and Jalen Hurd, so check out all those videos down in the comments section, and check out all my other videos on the rise and fall of coaches. I love this hire, and let's see what's going to happen with Tennessee football over the next few years. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.